Hold up. Every day I wake up.
Wake your ass up.
The Breakfast Club.
Y'all finished or y'all done?
Well, morning, everybody. Let's get right in the front page news. What's up, Mimi?
Good morning, MB. Jess, Charlamagne, how y'all doing?
Mimi Brown.
Hey, girl.
What we start with today?
So we're starting this morning with those growing protests. So demonstrators, they are spreading nationwide over that deadly ICE shooting in Minneapolis, with protests now reported in Atlanta, Dallas, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and even here in New York City. A 37-year-old Renee Good, she was shot and killed during an ICE encounter as she tried to leave the scene. The ICE officer who fired the shots, he has now been identified as Jonathan Ross. Now, records show Ross is the same officer who he was dragged about 50 yards during a separate ICE incident last June, and that incident is now under reviewed scrutiny. But the outrage is not just about the shooting itself, it is now about who is in charge of investigating it. So Minnesota officials, they say the federal government has shut the state out. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, that's the state's top investigative unit, they say they have now been blocked from the case. State officials say they initially agreed to conduct a joint investigation with the FBI, but they say federal authorities, they later reversed course and cut the state from access to interviews, evidence, and case materials. Now, because of that, the state said it has reluctantly withdrawn from the investigation. Governor Tim Walz, he says the move is raising serious concerns about fairness and transparency. Let's listen to what he had to say.
That it feels now that Minnesota has been taken out of the investigation. People in positions of power have already passed judgment, from the president to the vice president to Kristi Noem, have stood and told you things that are verifiably false, verifiably inaccurate. They have determined the character of a 37-year-old mom that they didn't even don't know.
So when he says the state is withdrawn from the investigation, does he mean for the moment? Because if the feds don't, find anything, does that mean the state can't go after it after that? Well,
this is essentially a state case, right?
Yeah.
Because it happened, but the feds are saying that and I'm going to get to that because J.D. Vance, he came out and he spoke about that. So the state is saying, we want to investigate this, and the feds are saying, no, this was a federal officer, this was shot, so this is our jurisdiction, right? Vice President J.D. Vance, he told reporters it would go against precedent for state officials to be involved in prosecuting a federal agent, and he's arguing that the officer has absolute immunity under federal law. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Jesus.
First of all, I wish the state officials in Minnesota would investigate why you have so many people who are using their vehicles and other means to actually interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation. The precedent here is very simple. You have a federal law enforcement official engaging in federal law enforcement action. That's a federal issue. That guy is protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job. The idea that Tim Walz and a bunch of radicals in Minneapolis are going to go after and make this guy's life miserable because he was doing the job that he was asked to do is preposterous. The unprecedented thing is the idea that a local official can actually prosecute a federal official with absolute immunity. I've never seen anything like that. It would get tossed out by a judge.
Nobody cares if his life is miserable when he took a life. But does he have qualified immunity?
Not in this case.
Okay.
Not in this case. And the DOJ's own handbook goes against every way that shooting happened. It happened every way it went down. The DOJ, their own guidelines say that he was absolutely wrong in this shooting. So
it's also real sad. I saw a video yesterday. They had a candlelight visual for Renee, and agents was kicking her candles over her, not caring, threatening. Like the people, like back up, leave. You know what I mean?
Like, the disrespect,
really
right?
Yeah, very disrespectful.
So what happens from here? So what could happen to him?
So
if anything,
who knows, right? Because he's being protected. He's being protected. But President Trump has come out. The vice president has come out. Kristi Noem. They're all protecting him right now. So and with the state backing off, we have to wait and see what is exactly going to happen. And did you guys hear about the shooting in Portland? Because there was another.
I heard about a shooting yesterday in Portland.
There was another shooting in Portland. Two people, a married couple, they were shot yesterday by an ICE officer during a targeted traffic stop. Now, the Department of Homeland Security said they were conducting that targeted traffic stop when the driver tried to run them over with their vehicle, and it prompted the agent to fire a defensive shot. Now, local officials, they say they don't know if that account is accurate because Portland's mayor, he says the city can no longer take the federal explanation at face value anymore, and he wants all ICE operations halted outside of Portland right now.
Were those American citizens too? in Portland?
They were, I don't know if they were American citizens, but they said they were believed to be a part of the, what's that gang, the
Trentennials?
No, the
I know you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That gang. So they believe they were part of that.
I can't believe you can't pronounce it.
I'm not Spanish, so I am black.
You know what I'm trying to say.
I'm black.
And then the last shooting, there was another shooting that is flying under the radar this morning just a little bit. This one happened in Los Angeles on New Year's Eve. So there was a federal officer. He was off duty and he killed a black man, Keith Porter Jr. The Department of Homeland Security says the agent was responding to what it described as an active shooter situation. Porter's family says the attorney, they strongly dispute that account. They acknowledged that Porter was armed. So basically he went outside on New Year's Eve and he shot his gun into the air to celebrate New Year's Eve. The officer lived in the same building that he lived in. He came out and there was some sort of like back and forth, and the off-duty federal agent ended up shooting the man. There was no body camera footage. There's no camera. LA officials say the case is under investigation, but they say charging an officer, especially a federal officer involving those cases, it can take years. Local leaders, and especially his family in LA, they are speaking out this morning. Let's listen to what they had to say.
Were this anyone else, there would have been an arrest. You don't get to just murder people because you don't like what they're doing or how they're celebrating. We want him named, we want him arrested, and we want him prosecuted. We also want ICE out of LA.
And this man was never even taken into the station. He went back into his home after murdering my little cousin.
Lord have mercy. It's a lot going on. I don't even know where to begin, but I want to go back to the Renee Good situation for a second. The lack of empathy from Republicans on that issue is not surprising because those guys are one band, one sound in regards to their talking points. But I believe the most valid question is simply, how do you just dismiss any wrongdoing without an investigation?
Right. And that's what state officials are trying to say. They're just saying, this man is, he's innocent, she was guilty. But all the video evidence, I know we've all seen the video evidence, it shows exactly what happened. We can see with our eyes what happened.
How are Republicans telling people they didn't see what we all saw?
Right.
That's crazy.
That should be crazy. And I don't give a damn about Republicans or Democrats. I care about what's right and what's wrong. And what happened to Renee Good was wrong, period. And like Martin Luther King Jr. said, an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And as you can tell from what Mimi Brown just reported, there's a lot of justice being threatened right now.
That's right.
Okay.
All right, well, coming up at 7, we're going to get into something that's going to affect your paycheck, and we'll tell you how it works.
God damn.
I know. It's affecting millions of people. We got to talk about it. Coming up at 7. So we start this hour with a major federal move that could affect millions of Americans. So that move is the federal government. They have restarted wage garnishment for people who are behind on their federal student loans. So the Department of Education says borrowers who are already in default, they should have began receiving notices on January 7th, warning that money could soon be taken directly out of their paychecks. So more notices, they're going out every month. So this marks the first major return of forced collection since the pandemic pause that ended right after when the pandemic ended in 2021-ish. So now what's happening, and many families are already under major financial pressure. We've got rising healthcare costs, affordability crisis, all of those things. And now the federal government says they want their money for your federal student loans. So the White House says that it is restarting those collections, and it is about accountability, and it is about returning to normal enforcement. So let's remind ourselves what the White House had to say about collecting student loan debt.
The student loan portfolio controlled by the federal government is nearly $1.6 trillion, but fewer than 4 out of 10 borrowers are in repayment. This is unsustainable, unfair, and a huge liability for American taxpayers. Borrowers will now be clearly expected to repay their loans, and those who default on their loan obligations will face involuntary collections.
Okay, so here's how that process will work. So once a federal student loan is in default, the government does not need a court order to collect money. So your employer can be instructed to withhold money directly from your paycheck, up to 15% of your take-home pay. So you're supposed to receive a 30-day notice before that garnishment begins, but if you ignore that letter, that does not stop the process. And with this fast-paced news cycle, a lot of people have missed this information. It's flying under the radar. So if you have a federal student loan, you would want to go to to studentaid.gov. Check your loan status. Make sure your contact information is current. And if you get any mail from the Department of Education, you want to open it, or from your loan servicer, you want to open it. There are options to get out of default, but you have to act.
So school me, right? Because I didn't go to college. So if you get a check for, like, let's just say $1,200, how much do they garnish?
15%. So what's that?
I don't know.
It was $1,200 is about $180, $200.
Hold on, now we got calculators right here on the phone now.
1,400.
What'd you say?
Like 1,500.
No.
I mean, damn, my bad. 100. No,
100.
150 or like.
Because 10% would be 120.
Right. So it'd be like 140.
All you gotta do is ask the phone, what is 15% of 1,200?
They're gonna be like, she can't read or do, man. Damn, just 120.
Yeah, so that's $180.
That's what I said, 180.
180.
But for a lot of people, that's a lot of money, especially right now, right? So you really want to make sure that you go to, what did I say, federalstudentloan.gov and make sure that you are not. So yes, it's studentloan.gov, and check your status, because those notices started on January 7th. Check your mail, check your email, and just make sure that they are not coming for your paycheck.
See, Jess, aren't you glad you didn't go to college?
I am a little bit now. Yeah.
You would have paid off your college by now.
No, I still well.
What?
What's the next story?
You still owe what?
Because I went to.
I know you don't owe Baltimore City Community College no money.
That's not it. It's CCBC. It's Community College of Baltimore City. So shut up. But go ahead.
All right. Well,
how much you owe to him?
It got to be like $100.
Right. Yo, stop playing. No,
okay, all right. Let me get through this. Okay,
yeah,
so wait, there may be a small glimmer of hope, y'all, on the healthcare front this morning. So after months of fallout from the higher insurance costs, those Affordable Healthcare Act subsidies, they expired at the end of 2025. We've been talking about that a lot. So now in 2026, the impact is being felt. So for millions of Americans who buy their insurance on the ACA marketplace, premiums have doubled. Some people have been dropped from their insurance because they couldn't afford those new monthly costs, and others were, they just simply were kicked off, and others, they voluntarily just said, okay, I can't afford these premiums. So now the House is trying to reverse some of that damage. Yesterday, the House voted to extend those ACA credits for 3 years, passing the bill 230 to 196. 17 Republicans, they joined Democrats to approve the measure. Supporters say that they're trying to restore those lower monthly premiums and help people who lost their coverage to get back on insurance, but the deal is not done yet. It now will head to the Senate, where it will face an uphill battle. Lawmakers on the Senate, they are split. A similar 3-year extension, it already failed. And Republicans, they are demanding changes, including tighter eligibility rules, minimum monthly premiums, and a new anti-fraud measure.
Yeah, I believe they'll cut some type of deal to make it happen. And I think part of that deal is going to be calling it Trump Care.
Yeah, maybe.
like officially changing the name to something with Trump in the name.
Yeah, but I would also tell people to call your insurance company, because what they were doing is, if the contract ended December 31st, you couldn't go back to your same doctor. But there's certain things called post-op. So like if you had a procedure or something that only your doctor would know, the insurance company has to cover it. They have to cover it. So, and they give you 3 months to do that coverage. So if you had a surgery, let's say December, and you have to go back to that doctor, it has to be covered, because it makes no sense to go to a new doctor when this is the doctor that treated you. He's the doctor that did the surgery. He's the doctor that did the breakdown. So call your insurance company, because they give you, I think it's a 3-month grace period.
Yeah. Did they do post-op after your nose job? Envy?
Continue. I didn't get no nose job.
And speaking of that, Envy, this is
not nose jobs. Thinking about something else.
Yes. We're going to move on to flu season, because the flu season this year has been very, very wild.
Man, crazy.
It's been a rough flu season. It's been driven by a new strain that doctors are calling a super flu. Now, the CDC says the U.S. is seeing its highest flu activity in nearly 30 years. Nearly every state is reporting rising cases, and hospitalizations are climbing fast. And New York has been hit especially hard. Between December 26th and January 2nd, more than 4,500 people were hospitalized with the flu in a single week. Now, that's the highest number the state has ever recorded. Doctors say that hospitals are under strain, and they warn that we have not even reached the peak yet.
Yeah, it's crazy, and like I told you guys, for my littles, I tell you my littles, which is London, Brooklyn, Jackson, and Peyton, they all got the flu, and it affected them in different ways. Like I tell you, Peyton was in the hospital for 10 days, Brooklyn was in the hospital for 2 days, London and Jackson, it just went right through their system, so it affects the bodies differently. But it is very serious. Take it serious. If your kids have fever, make sure you stay on top of their fever. Ice rags to make sure that fever drops. I know the physicians and the doctors, and if you go to urgent care, they'll say it just has to go through the system. Yeah. That is true, but keep an eye on your kids. Yeah. You know best. You know your kids better than anybody out there, any doctor out there. So if you feel anything, you rush them to the emergency room fast.
Do you still get the flu shot every year? Because
I was just about to ask that's doctors are saying to get the flu shot. They say that this strain isn't perfect. It isn't a match for it, but it will help. It'll help lessen the symptoms. That's what they're saying. Yeah,
but one of the symptoms are you lose feeling in your legs. Yeah. So are they upgrading the flu shot or?
Well, the variant changes every year. That's why people have to get flu shots every year. And I remember they used to do them up here at iHeart every year.
Right. Yeah. But they also said that not enough people are taking the flu shot, and because not enough people are taking the actual flu shot, it's not covering people the way that it should. It's not covering the community the way that it should, because people are not getting the flu shot like they should. So it's almost in some parts ineffective like it should be.
You remember that time? It was years ago. Like we was probably 2 years in, and you went and got the flu shot, and you was like, did you go get your chip in your arm? They got the chip in the arm around the corner. I just went and got my chip. You should go get the chip in your arm.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, everything Wendy Williams said about him and Clue is true.
That's
what I thought to myself.
What you thought about him?
It was a joke because they were saying that if you get the flu shot, they're actually putting a chip in you and they're following you. So I was making a joke of it. And this guy's crazy.
Hey, yo.
This guy's crazy.
All right, y'all. Well, that is your front page news.
Thank you, Mimi.
I'm Mimi Brown. Follow me at Mimi Brown TV for more stories. Follow the Black Information Network. Download the free iHeartRadio app or visit binnews.com.
All right. Thank you, Mimi. How can they follow you and all that good stuff? Because you're out of here, right?
I'm out of here. I will be back virtually Monday, but I'll still be here with y'all.
Okay.
Just through the screen.
I just found out that this girl is from the South Projects of Alaska.
You didn't know that?
I was like, I said there are projects in Alaska.
But I didn't say. But you're not from the projects down in Alaska. I was going to say, damn.
It's not really projects. It's just what they consider.
But they got hoods down there.
They got hoods in Alaska. Okay. Mountain View, Fairview.
What are you saying? Mountain View. Igloo.
That's what they say.
We gonna ski on your ass later.
Damn.
Rep your hood.
That's what they say it, all right?
All right. When we come back, Keith Sweat will be joining us. We're gonna chop it up with Keith Sweat, so don't move. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Hold up. Every day I wake up. Wake your ass up. The Breakfast Club.
Y'all finished or y'all done?